Welcome to the Insatiable Lust for Life with Stephen North. Hello everyone and welcome to the Insatiable Lust for Life. This is Stephen North and I have got a segment for you that is filled with a lot of the origins that go back to the creation of the heart activation music, which go back to when I first started writing music. We've also got a few different things prepared, and the topics that we're going to be talking about I've just recently gotten back from Brisbane this week. I'm going to be talking about the Brisbane Mind Body Spirit Festival. I'm going to be talking about some of the experiences that I had in Brisbane. I'm going to be talking about a thing that we're going to be calling the rebirth process, which is also linked to Brisbane Mind Body Spirit. We're also going to be looking at the masculine feminine misrepresentation and associated with a duality-based electromagnetic system and how it's being misrepresented in modern day spirituality and gurus, self-proclaimed gurus. And then we're also going to be looking at the exploration into emotions and working with them, because why we're doing this now is because we are feeling out of sorts with our mental states and emotional states. The physical, spiritual, mental and emotional bodies are going through a big change right now, and it's all connected with the rebirth process. We're about to go straight into a song that I've titled Untitled Beginnings. It was created back when I first started teaching myself music and wanted to learn and play with classical pieces, because I love the sound of violins, I love the sound of the piano, and to be able to play those instruments in order to express emotions are really a beautiful thing to be able to do. So without further ado, by all means, we're going to go straight into this song, and then we're going to talk a little bit more on the other side. So I look forward to speaking to you. Let's enjoy Untitled Beginning. This month in March, I attended the Mind Body Spirit Festival in Brisbane, and it was quite an extraordinary experience for myself. The expo was massive, everything was beautiful, the organisers are amazing. It's really a great expo to be a part of. What I was experiencing beforehand was that the mental state of myself was very wouldn't shut up. It would nag. And this type of nagging was more of the human mind trying to process information and suppress, and it really was very chaotic in the way that my own mindset was working, because I hadn't had any sleep for over a week. So when I got to Brisbane, I decided to do something, and let's go straight to a pharmacy on the day I landed and pick up some melatonin. Melatonin is a thing that the brain produces naturally, and it tells the body when we're sleepy. So when I took this, I read the instructions, and it says take 3 to 6 pills for a day, or as instructed by the doctor. So I took 1 to 2 pills. I think it was 2 pills, and had a really fantastic sleep for the very first time. But the impact of that medication or pill was that it felt like it had closed down 2 areas of the brain, the right and the left hemispheres along the top. And that made channeling and processing information a lot harder, because it was like it would closed off certain pathways within the neural network. So when it came to channeling on stage at the Mind, Body, Spirit Festival, to me, it felt more like the segment was a train wreck because, one, I was extremely nervous, and two, the information that I was trying to process wasn't there. It felt very disorientating, and I remember one of the nights that I woke up in Brisbane, mornings I should say, I was going, where the heck is Amy? It was so profound and so abnormal that it felt like my whole entire foundation had been torn apart. So when on stage, I created the crystal grid that I used that was clear, with all the clear crystals. I was very limited to what I could take because of the luggage requirements, and started channeling. And because of the melatonin, the channeling was very difficult. I was also trying to find where Amy was because even Amy wasn't present in this segment, so you could truly understand that I'm so used to having Amy present in the manner that she has been over the past 5 years, to now being available in a completely different way, that my foundation had been rocked. It was very, very mind-boggling. So I went to Lynn Shiona, who's one of the artists that performs at all these festivals, and I said to her, okay, let's do Amy session, and booked it in. There was only one spot available on the Saturday, and that was 10 minutes directly after my presentation, so the timing was absolutely perfect. When we started connecting, Lynn was saying, is Amy going to let anyone else through? And I said, look, I don't know what's going on. I feel like I can't connect. I feel like she's not available. Something's not right. It's just not right because my comfort zone, my normality is just not present, and it really threw me out. So Lynn started drawing Amy and started drawing this rebirth process. And, she's gone into the womb, and I actually understand what is going on in full detail with her with this rebirth process because we've been talking about it for the past 3 years of what is going on. And the hardest thing for me is that I have all this information and I really can't say anything because I'm not allowed to I can't intervene, I can't say anything because nothing has ever been determined in this manner, and that's what was presented to me through Jocelyn Joy Thomas in the last week or this week. I can't quite remember the days. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about this, but we're going to go into another classical song that's called Something Random. I never had a title for this, so let's sit back and enjoy, and I'll talk more about Mind, Body, Spirit on the other side of this. So as I was saying in regards to Amy and Lynn, one of the things that Lynn said, and she said that she goes, that she doesn't get personally involved with delivering the sessions. delivering the information, I should say. She said that she's seen archangels, masters, and angels, and everything in between, and spirit guides. But one of the things that she said to me that stood out was that she has never seen anyone as high up as the likes of Amy and myself. And that our level of communication is so high that is between us and us alone, which makes a lot of sense because Amy and I do communicate in many different ways, and even at times when the human side of things doesn't feel that level of communication, it is always there in one way or another. And what Amy and I are doing now is merging into a new state of being connected because of all these changes that are occurring, and that I will always be connected. And so anyway, Brisbane was quite an awakening and eye-opening experience. And also when doing the group session on the Sunday, it was quite a very interesting experience to even hear, because I could not feel Amy's presence, to hear the words of Lady Nada coming through saying, "We've received training from Amy to support you. We are here," and they joined in the group session in taking over the role of what Amy facilitates. So it's quite a very intriguing change and rebirthing process, and that's what's really happening for us right now, in the sense that we are going through one major transition. And for me, having this connection with Amy and the past few years of preparation and knowing the information that's coming through and being able to communicate on these high levels or high planes or whatever it is, having information can also be very troubling for me because I have to be very careful in what I say. And in fact, I've made a number of edits already on this podcast because I had to remove information in case I've revealed too much. So, but for me, that is also a test, and also because these new team that's coming through are coming through as a collective, and it's quite an interesting experience. So Brisbane was a very beautiful experience. It was a very beautiful journey. The Mind Body Spirit Festival, spending time with my sister, being triggered and trying to find peace in the center of everything is what this month has been about, was finding peace. Because the mind went nuts, wasn't able to sleep prior to going to Brisbane, coming to Brisbane, and then finding that I had to go through for the brain to readjust, because that melatonin really had an impact, and it was pretty. I didn't feel like my normal self because I'm used to the brain racing ahead and going. It's always on the go, 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 especially when trying to solve problems. So it was a really beautiful experience. I met some amazing people at the expo. I was talking about the psychology uses. I was talking about the things that I've used it for and experienced, and the sensations that people were feeling were absolutely beautiful. And as I say in the group sessions, I may look like a clown walking around waving a crystal in the air, but something is happening in association with the music and what I'm doing, and people were saying that they could physically feel me walking through the room when I walked past them, because they could feel the intensity of the energy increase, which is really beautiful, but I've never experienced it myself, so I wouldn't know what it's like. Another person said that they weren't going to come to the expo, but they turned up, and they turned up to this session, and it reminded them of what I was talking about, of what they used to do some 25 years ago. So they said that it was very fantastic for them. So I want to move into another song, and I'm going to say this song was written during a time when I realized I had fallen in love with a best friend, and there'd been a separation of sorts, and I could feel the yearning for two hearts to merge as one, and that's why I called it Burning Hearts. So welcome to this song, Burning Hearts. I think this is the edit, and I may have released this on Spotify already. I'm not entirely sure. I believe it is another classical music song. So here it is, Burning Hearts on the Insatiable Lust for Life with Stephen North. the things that would happen in Brisbane, and although I made the decision to return early because of my mental state, emotional state was very strange, and realised that I'd rather be home on my own back in Perth to work with it rather than being on the other side of the country, because it felt like I was being a burden on my sister and her family. So before I wanted to come back, I wanted to spend time with a very beautiful friend of mine. I knew that she's absolutely gorgeous. There's just so much love that she radiates, and we spent time the last time I was in Brisbane, and I said, hey, let's catch up because we can have a lot of fun. And that's what we did. I travelled up there for a weekend, and it was a Friday, Saturday, because I was leaving on the Sunday, and the experiences that I had were so beautiful and heart-opening that a lot of the fears that I was worrying about, we got to explore. And that is like through things such as not having been in any form of relationship. The emotional intimacy that we were sharing with one another was absolutely beautiful, because what I love in connection with a partner is emotional intimacy more than the physical intimacy. I mean, of course, the physical intimacy is fantastic, but to have that bond on an emotional level is really beautiful. And I'm very grateful and actually really honoured to have this experience, because it was very refreshing. We were on jet skis in the middle of the ocean, swimming with dolphins. It was just absolutely wonderful. It was just wonderful. The words cannot express. I'm still sunburnt from it. Even with putting sunscreen on, it just didn't seem to be enough. So the next song that I'm going to play, and that's all I'm going to share about Brisbane, it was really it was part of this whole rebirthing process and opening up to who I am as a soul, as a person with the ability to love on a very deep level. It's all surfacing again, and it does get scarier by all means. I was saying to a friend of mine, it's like the idea of holding someone's hand, the idea of someone touching me, it's all scary because I've suppressed all those desires and needs for over the past 6-7 years. So it's quite fascinating to have this experience. So what I'm going to do now is play the song Amy's Passion for Life. It is another beautiful classical music, and then I'm going to change it up a bit and sharing some more modern stuff. So this is Stephen North. You're listening in to the Insatiable Lust for Life, and here is the song Amy's Passion for Life. So one of the things that I mentioned at the beginning is the discussion of the masculine and the feminine energies, and I wanted to explore a little bit why it has been triggering me, and I can actually see that there is a lot of misrepresentation and a misunderstanding into what is going on here. When we're talking about masculine feminine, we're talking about it as a duality component, as a part of the electromagnetic systems. Electromagnetic is third dimensional, fourth dimensional structure, and when we move into the fifth dimensional structure, it becomes more quantum. And this got explained to me back in 2014 because they wanted to trigger my memories and to help me understand more of who I am at the time. And what was being explained is that masculine feminine is the best way to look at it is to see it as a two-phase, pretty much electronic circuit. You've got your positive, you've got your negative. You need one without the other. You can't complete a circuit without both. It is not gender related at all, and this is where the English language can get very confusing, because if we're speaking about masculine, we're talking about a male. If we're speaking about feminine, we're talking about a female. But in here, we're talking about qualities and traits. It's kind of like talking about the left and the right hemisphere of the brain. The female is inspirational and creative and caring and nurturing, which is the right hemisphere of the brain. And on the left hemisphere of the brain is the masculine, which is action, protection, they're the ones that make things happen. So you can kind of see that it's like the ideas come from the feminine side of things, and then the creation and action comes from the masculine side of things. So in a duality-based perspective, you are the one or the other, and a lot of people are either experiencing extremes. So if you're going to be strong in feminine, you're going to be moving into a strong experience of the masculine, and that's in order to merge the two. One of the healers that I'm aware of and know is saying that, we're having to have to embody the Sophia and the Christ energy into the planetary system. But really, it's got nothing to do with the planet, because the planet already exists. It's already had this for millions of years prior to its created. So the only thing that really needs to be focused on is that of ourselves. It's like, for me, as an example, when I'm walking with Amy, I'm so intertwined in her energy that I'm actually more feminine. And I'm seeing a lot of men lately that are carrying this feminine energy, being very creative, very creative, and are moving into more of an action stage, which is beautiful because it means that the energies are merging together into a neutral space, even to the point that I've actually started beginning to look at creating groups to support a healthy masculine, to support the feminine. And by that, I actually mean to create a men's group to look at how to support the women. Because my theory is that the reason why we were so in a masculine-based environment, planetary system, whatever you want to call it, the systems, goes all the way back to the Dark Ages. And the Dark Ages is where you needed to kill, otherwise you're going to be killed. You needed to exploit, otherwise you will not succeed. You needed to do all these things. And there are a lot of spirit guides at the moment that still believe in that structure, that have not changed since and have not incarnated since. So you can understand why these energies are still lingering around. It's got nothing to do with the male or the female, because every single person on this planet, every single animal on this planet, every single being on this planet that's alive is going through the same process of merging the masculine with the feminine. And once we are able to do that, once we merge the duality perspective and pull ourselves out of pull ourselves out of that system, more into non-duality thinking, is when we're able to achieve that we've moved into a fifth dimensional structure. And right now, that's all we need to focus on, because the talk about the fifth dimension has been happening since prior to 2014. So we understand that we're always in a state of healing, we're always in a state of perfecting. So when there are women that are saying that they are leading the rise in the feminine, they could very well be coming from a masculine energy system, because they don't necessarily understand what they're referring to. And I'm seeing a lot of these gurus, self-proclaimed gurus, that saying all they're doing is reading someone else's wisdom and sharing their experiences. Whilst it could be their truth, it could also be very erroneous. And one of the things in this spiritual industry, because it is an industry, is that there is no governing body to say, yes, that's right, no, that's wrong. It's your own personal journey. And as someone was saying to me, that they were saying that they were spiritually bypassing something or whatever the heck the story was. And I said, well, but it depends on which spiritual group you come from. It will determine whether the person that made that claim could very well be actually erroneous because of the spiritual belief systems that they have. So you can understand that there is so many different conflicts. As one person said to me, who tagged me in the post, said, "Oh, that's very true, etc., etc." And I'm like, well, from my perspective, from where I'm coming from in a higher realm, and from what I understand from the wisdom that I've been taught over the years, is that they don't understand the whole electromagnetic, quantum-based energetic systems that the planet and the humans are moving into. So having already done this over and over and over again, multiple systems, I kind of actually starting to trigger, and those triggers are actually activating memories. So please, whilst that may seem very complicated in depth, all in the explanation, and may be misunderstandable because of the human language, and me trying to communicate this is quite complex because I can't find the words for it, and I'm hoping that I was able to describe it. So a song that I want to step into now is called, let's just go straight into the song because I can't find the title and I haven't got my glasses on right now. So let's just jump straight into the next song, and I will see you on the other side. This is Stephen North with the Insatiable Lust for Life. So I finally found the title to that song, and it doesn't actually have one. It's just a project that I've called Tribal Belly Dancing. So as you can understand from the previous comments before, is that I do believe that there is a very misrepresentation in regards to masculine and feminine on the concept of duality and electromagnetic systems. Because electromagnetic system is where karma, masculine, feminine, and other things take place, which has got explained to me back in 2014, so I'd have a better understanding as to what is occurring. So part of this rebirthing process that was spoke about at the beginning of this was also included a regime change in guides. Not spirit guide, but because that will always be Amy's role, but this new team that's coming forward. And so what they were saying is that there is going to be no change. Rather than being Amy being directly up front, they're coming in as a group, which Amy's voice is a part of, but now there is another voice that stands in front. It's a very strong group. I would say it is very masculine, but it's not. It's just strong in wisdom that stands. The wisdom is very potent, and they said that they believe that I am very ready for the wisdom, and they explained what I'm going to be talking about in the future, the concept of understanding, etc., etc., etc. So a lot of the stuff that I've collected in the groups, in the sessions that I've had with like Cassandra and Rebecca Dawson and Jocelyn, it kind of is laying out a very solid foundation in the path that I'm walking on. So let's just stay tuned and see what this comes out, because it's not a topic that many people speak about, as I said. But going back to the changing guides, this is very, very intriguing because, as I was saying, that they are a collective, and I'm just going to refer to them as part of me. I don't want names or labels, so I really can't tell you who they are because I'm not interested in knowing. And the reason why is because it makes it far more easier for me to connect to something that I don't know rather than something that I do know, because you overlook certain things. So in this manner, I can work with them in a way without the human mind getting involved, because I do not want to sit there and say, I'm channeling this person, I'm channeling that person, I'm channeling this. It's because it is a group, it is a collective. We are all equal, including myself as the team, and that's what's more important. It's the identity of just Stephen North and Amy North. So that is all part of the whole rebirthing process, and that is what I believe as to why this masculine feminine energy came up, because it was to talk about the misrepresentations. Because as I was going through these changes in guides and the strength of them and the strength of their knowledge, that this topic was coming up, and I didn't really understand how to explore it in terms of a conversation, because what I've been trying to do is to stop myself from coming off as aggressive. So another song that I'm going to play is called, again, another song that I've not released, and all I've got is that it was created on the 24th of June 2018, and this one is called Oh Baby. You have tuned in to Stephen North and the Insatiable Lust for Life. So one of the things that I want to end up with on talking about the Insatiable Lust for Life is that of the topic of emotions. And Amy has been a very good coach in regards to helping me understand what they are. I've always been an emotional person and governed and driven by emotions, and they explained to me in 2014 that the reason why is because emotions are the language of the soul, which means that I'm more in connection with my soul than what I originally thought I was. But soul is the human word for consciousness. Okay, so that means that consciousness communicates through emotions, it communicates through expression. Which is why I enjoy writing music, because over the years there are certain songs that I've created that are actually expressing my path of love and acceptance, etc., etc., etc. So when it comes to working with emotions for yourself, it's like today I've just been sitting at the chair. I've been wanting to do things. I've been wanting to drive to Kalamunda and be in the trees, in the hills, in the woods and all that sort of stuff, wanting to be in nature and connecting. But I've been sitting in the office, and that's why I ended up decided to record this podcast, and just sitting in the space of going, what is the emotions telling me? What are they teaching me? Because the solar plexus region is going mental. It's not as calm as it's been before, which means that there is change, and everyone doesn't really like it because it's discomforting, but what's on the other side is so grand and so beautiful that it's very, it's all worth it, and that's what it is. It's like the more I dive into these dark abysses of unknown things, it comes out and absolutely beautiful and works out in my favour. So there's no fear when it comes into diving into the darkness. So these emotions that we're experiencing is really teaching us about ourselves. They are a teacher in one way or another. It's like if you're experiencing jealousy, you need to look and sit in that emotion, not really to judge or condemn or express in an angry way that you've got it, but to look at it and question it. Why is it here? Why is it there? What's it showing you? And that is a very good mental health habit in order to get into questioning why you are experiencing certain emotions. And when people were earlier in the month talking about that they were having all these sorts of experiences, I thought to myself, well, I'm not getting this because I'm immune to it. But the more I dived into it, the more I could see, and it was, it's been nerve-wracking. It's been sitting on the couch and just crying because of the beauty of what is surfacing, because as I said earlier, the suppressed needs, the discovery of a grand love that is available, and how a lot of the things that have been said over the years is starting to fall into place. But the thing is, at the same time, I'm very looking at this, trying to, let's doubt what's come through. Let's question what's come through. Let's put it to the side, because what I know may not happen for another few years. We need to treat this in a healthy manner, and this is where the psychological practices come into place, because we need to have healthy mind practices so that we don't get consumed in our thoughts, that we don't get consumed by what is nagging us, that we don't get consumed by the mental process of what we're struggling with. And that is very important. And so this is what I've been sitting with, and whilst it's just a very beautiful perspective to have in regards to self-analysis of your own self, because I'm always observing my own responses. I'm always observing my own language and communications, and working with these frustrations. So going back to the emotions, it is very healthy, again, to sit with it, talk to it, ask why it's there, and to probe it like you would if you were an investigator investigating something or other. I was going to say a murder, but no, that's not really the best way to describe it. So the final song that I'm going to end up on is one that I created a few years ago, and I really hope that you've enjoyed listening to this episodes of The Insatiable Lust for Life. I am using it as a platform to express. I'm using it as a platform to train. I'm using it as a platform to communicate what I've been experiencing on this side with life, and would love to hear your feedback as well. I'm also looking at creating opportunities to have other musicians provide their music to be included in the Insatiable Lust for Life, because I haven't written that much music to create 6 songs per episode that we haven't heard over and over and over again. So without further ado, I thank you, and my inner poet is coming out. So thank you very much for tuning in. This is Stephen North on the Insatiable Lust for Life, and we're going to end with the song called Suka. Insatiable Lust for Life with Stephen North.